You're the only sword immortal in the entire sect who becomes invincible when drunk. Yet, not a single disciple cheers for you. They even kneel and beg the sect leader to execute you. All because the first time you got drunk, you dared to sneak into your senior sister's bedchamber. This action hurt more than killing any male disciple. The whole sect wants you dead, but only the senior sister who was seen naked is willing to speak up for you. Just because of that one line you uttered while drunk, a river of swords descends from the heavens. The awe-inspiring scene made even this sword genius feel inferior. 3 days later, she even breaks the sect rules by drinking with you. Upon seeing this, sect leader Leng Yiqing scolds her. Drunkenness is forbidden by sect rules. As the senior sister, instead of setting an example, you're letting him repeat his mistakes. Empress sect leader shouts, Ruyan, you deserve death. Lu Ruyan shivers in fright. Alright, there won't be a next time. Leng Yiqing sighs softly, merely glancing at Lu Ruyan, reminding her, you may go back now. Leng Yiqing turns her gaze back to you, wanting to stop you from getting drunk again. With a wave of her hand, she intends to evaporate your alcohol with her spiritual energy like she did a few months ago. But this time, it fails. The moment her spiritual energy touches you, it's forcefully repelled. Leng Yiqing mutters to herself, then suddenly realizes, the previous river of swords also happened when you were drunk, and it's the same this time. Could it be that you use alcohol to enter the path of the sword? No wonder your cultivation is only at the foundation establishment stage. Without any change, no matter how we probe, the gloom in Leng Yiqing's heart vanishes, and a slight smile unconsciously curls her lips. The next moment, powerful spiritual energy pours towards you like a mountain crashing down. The vast surge of spiritual energy rushes in, and within your sleeping body, the river of swords and the 12 flying swords instinctively launch a counterattack. Leng Yiqing's calm gaze gradually turns to astonishment. With her strength, she immediately notices that your spiritual power has actually reached the Great Achievement realm. What surprises Leng Yiqing is why spiritual energy at only the Great Achievement level would stir her heart. Through probing with her spiritual energy, Leng Yiqing senses that although the spiritual energy within you is far inferior to hers, it has an intensely sharp intent. Facing the pressure she's applying, you show not a single sign of pain. The robes symbolizing Leng Yiqing's status flutter without wind, and the pressure surrounding you is increasing bit by bit. Under her precise control, the spiritual energy only increases slowly, and she can immediately withdraw if you show any signs of being unable to withstand it. Even under the pressure of the late-stage Great Achievement realm, you still show no reaction. Leng Yiqing seems to witness a miracle, and once again elevates her spiritual pressure to the peak of the Great Achievement realm. Finally, the River of Swords, not easily subdued, is forced out by Leng Yiqing. Your face remains drunk, your expression dreamlike, accompanied by the River of Swords' forceful protection of its master. Around your body, a faint layer of white mist gradually appears, releasing a sharp sword intent. It seems intent on tearing apart all of Leng Yiqing's spiritual energy. Although Leng Yiqing is shocked, she is even more unwilling to concede. The spiritual pressure she releases has already increased from the peak of the Great Achievement realm to the Tribulation Transcension realm. When the pressure finally reaches the level of spiritual power of the Tribulation Transcension realm, your drunken expression is slightly affected, and the sword intent of the River of Swords shows signs of crumbling. However, with another hum of sword intent, a mysterious armor appears around your body, and the 12 flying swords, like the River of Swords, manifest unsummoned. The Peach Blossom Sword God's sword intent instantly drifts in the air, forming a massive net of swords, enveloping your body. Dual sword intents. Leng Yiqing exclaims in shock. No one understands the existence of sword intent better than Leng Yiqing, the sword pioneer. Leng Yiqing had also comprehended dual sword intents, but cultivating different attributes of sword intent was incredibly difficult and required extremely harsh conditions. Leng Yiqing had also spent nearly 10 years allowing her two sword intents to merge. But you not only are unaffected, but two different sword intents are actually intertwining to resist her pressure. However, Leng Yiqing does not stop. She wants to see just how terrifying this miracle youth who uses alcohol to enter the path of the sword can become. Following is the mid-stage of Tribulation Transcension, the late stage of Tribulation Transcension, the peak of Tribulation Transcension. When the pressure finally increases to around the peak of the Tribulation Transcension realm, a trace of pain finally appears on your drunken face. Just when she thinks this is your limit, the vision happens again. The River of Swords and the 12 flying swords, as if stimulated and provoked, once again shine brilliantly. The white and blue light halos of sword intent surge wildly, actually launching a counterattack against the pressure released by Leng Yiqing. Leng Yiqing hastily withdraws her spiritual energy. A youth who is only 20 years old possesses dual sword intents and dual sword domains. What does this mean? What kind of potential is this? After this incident, Leng Yiqing treats you even more like a treasure in her palm. A sword immortal who is about to change the destiny of the entire Nine Swords Mountain has risen. In a blink of an eye, several days pass. You are already outside the largest restaurant in the town, within Yunzhou. Most of the sect forces who came to participate in the Sword Inquiry Conference are staying there. In a corner of the restaurant, A young man is sprawled out, dead drunk, having drunk all the wine in the restaurant. At the window of the restaurant, a beautiful figure leans against the railing, closing her eyes to rest. This is none other than Lu Ruyan, who is worried about her little junior brother and is responsible for watching over you. It's worth mentioning that after the Empress sect leader learned that you entered the path of the sword through alcohol, she didn't lift the sect's ban on alcohol. After all, this concerns the inheritance of the Nine Swords Mountain for thousands of years, as well as the opinions of the Peak Lords of the Nine Peaks. Everything must wait until after the Sword Inquiry Conference before it can be discussed. At least they could allow the Peak Lords of the Eight Peaks to personally witness just how terrifying you are now that you have entered the path of the sword through alcohol. So Ling Yiqing has tacitly allowed you to drink. The only problem is that you have tasted almost all the fine wines in Guangling City these days, but have failed to trigger the system reward again. It seems that these wines are not comparable to the 100-year-old Daughter's Red. If you want to unlock a higher level of the God of Wine Sword Intent, you must find higher grade wine. At this moment, a group of people suddenly walk in from outside the restaurant, led by a middle-aged man who appears to be in his 30s. The first thing they see when they enter is you, a disciple of the Nine Swords Mountain, completely drunk in the corner. One of the beautiful women in their group says, "The rumored Nine Swords Mountain, the #1 sect in Yunzhou. Is this kind of drunken mess? Let me play with him, junior sister. This is the foot of the Nine Swords Mountain." Lin Jia narrows his eyes, looking in your direction, and smiles. "We should be mindful of our limits." At this moment, a waiter in the restaurant happens to be carrying a jar of fine wine toward you. Lin Chu's lips curl up slightly as he deliberately stumbles, bumping into the waiter carrying the wine jar. Amidst the waiter's exclamation, he loses his balance and falls toward you. It looks like the jar of fine wine is about to smash on your head. You yawn dreamily, your left hand reaching out as if weak and catches the waiter's body. Your right hand reaches out and perfectly catches the wine jar, gently placing it on the table. At the same time, your left hand had already moved the waiter aside. "Don't waste my wine." Lin Chu was stunned for a moment. "Sorry," he said, but while waving his hand, a burst of spiritual energy surged from his palm. A wooden chair shot directly towards you. If one didn't pay attention, they wouldn't even see who made the move. A towering sword intent erupted, and with a muffled thud, the wooden chair seemed to hit a wall, exploding in midair less than a meter in front of you. This scene shocked everyone. It wasn't the sharpness that shattered the wooden chair that caused the shock. Rather, the splinters of wood floating in the air looked as if they had been shredded by countless sharp swords, turning into sharp, bloody points. "Why ruin my drinking mood? Looking for a fight?" You speak calmly, grabbing the wine jar on the table and taking another swig. You subconsciously twist your hand, and the piece of wood that had just been shredded by the sword intent. A sword hum vibrates through the air. Elder Sumu, who had a calm expression before, couldn't help but frown. A waste of a foundation establishment stage had actually comprehended sword intent. Not just any sword intent, but also the 12 flying sword killing formation of the Peach Blossom Sword God. No one knew about it. Among the wood chips floating in the air, the mysterious armor, the green plum, and the other Tai 12 flying swords were hidden. Not even Sumu noticed that at the moment the sword formation was formed, it had inadvertently severed a strand of hair behind his ear. The stronger one's power, the more they feel, especially Sumu. He felt like he was looking at the vast sky when staring at the sword intent youth before him. In the private rooms on the second floor of the restaurant, the geniuses of the Tai Xian sect, the Xianyu Mountain, and the Yihuan sect widened their eyes almost simultaneously. A sword immortal has arrived. This was the initial thought that flashed in everyone's minds. Almost instantly, the windows of the second floor's private rooms opened at the same time, and their gazes all fell upon you. Lin Chu didn't know that was sword intent. She immediately snorted coldly, "A mere foundation establishment stage trash. Dare to show off in front of the saintess? Courting death," with a sword cry, before you could even make a move. A fire-colored short sword flew past your ear, heading straight for Lin Chu. Immediately after, a warm and gentle hand gently took yours, and a soft force forcefully dispelled the alcohol from your body. Lin Chu frowned, involuntarily retreating 3 steps, while the fiery red short sword continued to pierce through the air. The fish-gut sword, the personal sword of the Peak Lord of White Moon Peak. It was Lu Ruyan. How could Lin Chu and Lin Jia endure this? While Lu Ruyan held Lin Chu back, she launched a palm strike, and a copper seal flashed in her palm. For your identity, using it to protect a mere foundation establishment stage trash is indeed a bit of overkill. Her palm collided with the flying sword. A loud explosion came from the air, and the sword was rapidly sent back. That's the mountain and river seal. Golden light flashed in Lu Yuyan's eyes. She caught the fish-gut sword, but then her expression drastically changed. A powerful rebound of spiritual energy entered her body through the fish-gut sword, heading directly towards her meridians. Senior Sister Lu, you frowned, the coldness in your eyes flashing for a moment. You couldn't help but reach for the wine jar at your side. But at this critical moment, Lu Ruyan stopped you again, shaking her head at you, reminding you in a low voice, "Don't be impulsive, junior brother. Don't forget the instructions of the Empress sect leader." Taking a deep breath, your emotions gradually stabilized. Before going down the mountain, your master had instructed you not to cause trouble before the Sword Inquiry Conference. After all, the forces of the entire Yunzhou were watching, so you wouldn't give others cause to gossip. She also knew that you were too strong when you were drunk. To avoid losing control when drunk, she had arranged for Lu Ruyan to stay by your side. Those dogs of the Mountain and River sect who are hunting the geniuses of Nine Swords Mountain, you guys got lucky this time. It can also be said that the Empress sect leader doesn't really understand your power. Not to mention the geniuses of the Mountain and River sect. What about the Mountain and River sect's immortal emperor? However, you still held back. You would settle everything at the Sword Inquiry Conference. To actually be able to block one of my palm strikes. Lin Jie's lips curled slightly, and he looked at Lu Ruyan in surprise. The disciples of Nine Swords Mountain aren't all wastes, it seems. There's even a Foundation Establishment stage waste who has comprehended sword intent. But this makes things more interesting. It's not in vain that this Saint's son made a trip here. Lin Jie, this is Guangling City. Lu Ruyan's eyes flashed with light. If something happens to my junior brother today, the Empress sect leader will surely make your Mountain and River sect hang from the red firmament sword. Do you believe it? Lin Jie's eyes narrowed slightly. At the Sword Inquiry Conference, the dignity that the Mountain and River sect lost today, I will surely take it all back with interest. Before Lu Ruyan could speak, you laughed. All right, if you want to spar at the Sword Inquiry Conference, the disciples of my Nine Swords Mountain are always ready to oblige. Lin Chu was slightly stunned, looking at you with a frown. I want to fight Lu Ruyan, not you, a Foundation Establishment stage waste, an ant trying to shake a tree. Laughable and overestimating yourself. After saying that, she gave you a disdainful look before turning around and going upstairs without looking back. You shrugged innocently and turned to look at senior sister Lu Ruyan. Let's go too. The next day, the Nine Swords Mountain finally welcomed the highly anticipated Sword Inquiry Conference. The young disciples of the Eight Peaks competed, vying for the name of the first peak of the Nine Swords Mountain. Due to the large number of sect forces watching this year, the Nine Swords Mountain specifically moved the venue of the Sword Inquiry Conference from Sword Cry Peak to the Sword Repository. On this huge arena, many spiritual power formations were used for reinforcement. This area was enough to withstand the attacks of Tribulation Transcension Realm experts without being damaged. This matter also caused an uproar. The strongest of the young disciples of the Nine Swords Mountain was only at the level of 7th sword drawn. They not only changed the location of the conference, but it was even necessary to set up a protective barrier at the Tribulation Transcension level. Was the Nine Swords Mountain making a mountain out of a molehill to show off their strength? Or did they have other intentions? It was really confusing. Although they didn't understand, no one dared to say anything. After all, the organizer was Nine Swords Mountain, and they had the right to interpret everything. Directly in front of the arena was Sword Cry Peak. At that time, the Empress Lin Yiqing would personally watch the battle and crown the final champion of the Sword Inquiry Conference. After 3 days of competition, 21 disciples from the 8 peaks participated. Finally, Gu Jian, Liu Yan, and Gu Yuan ranked in the top 3. The disciples who ranked in the top 10 would be known as the young generation of geniuses of the Nine Swords Mountain and would have priority access to all the cultivation resources of the sect. On the coronation day, Empress sect leader of Nine Swords Mountain, Lin Yiqing, personally arrived at the Sword Cry Peak. At this time, the various sect forces entered the Sword Inquiry Conference venue one after another, even more than when the sect disciples were competing. After all, they knew that the Sword Inquiry Conference of the Nine Swords Mountain was just a warm-up, and the sect sparring that followed was the main event. At this time, besides the 5 great immortal emperors, Taishan sect's Tai, Xianyu Mountain's Yichen, Mountain and River sect's Su Qi, Hehuan sect's Ruo Shui and Lin Yiqing, who were overlooking from the Sword Cry Peak, there was another figure that was worth noting. A young man standing quietly next to Lin Yiqing, and he was also the infamous young man whose name had been making headlines recently. Seeing the young man next to Lin Yiqing, even the few immortal emperors around her were slightly taken aback, especially the great emperor Su Qi of the Mountain and River sect. His gaze swept over you, and he couldn't help but feel surprised in his heart. Lin Yiqing said, "This young man in the Foundation Establishment stage is a closed-door disciple of this sect." Lin Yiqing said with a calm face. Su Qi laughed, thinking, "Lin Yiqing, you're planning to just give up? You actually took in a Foundation Establishment stage disciple." But his laughter faded. Seeing the smile you gave him, it seemed like he remembered something. Could this young man be the one in Nine Swords Mountain who had comprehended sword intent? While pondering this, Su Qi's mental power detected another strange thing. Why did the disciples of Nine Swords Mountain responsible for the defensive formation feel so familiar? Su Qi's gaze wandered to the 8 black-robed figures who were responsible for the defensive barrier of the square. At this moment, one of them seemed to sense his gaze, and slightly raised their head, giving him a calm smile. White Moon Peak Lord Jian Yufeng. Su Qi's heart skipped a beat. After confirming the identity of the person in the black robe, he hurriedly checked again. Jian Yi, Jian Hong, Jian Ma, Jian Feng, Jian Lai. Those guarding the barrier were not ordinary disciples of Nine Swords Mountain, but the 8 peak lords of Nine Swords Mountain. except for Leng Yiqing herself. The 8 peak lords were out in full force, personally guarding the arena. Was this crazy? What on earth was happening? Su Qi's face changed abruptly, his heart filled with horror. The 8 peak lords? It seemed like Nine Swords Mountain was about to encounter some kind of upheaval before Su Qi could react. A flash of white light appeared on the stage. Lin Chu, the genius of the Mountain and River sect, had already leaped onto the stage. Before the Sword Inquiry Conference coronation ceremony, do outside sect disciples have the right to challenge the disciples of Nine Swords Mountain? Lin Chu said calmly while being watched by countless eyes. Hearing this, your eyes on the mountain could not help but narrow. What was coming had come after all. Leng Yiqing did not hesitate at all. According to the rules, in every Sword Inquiry Conference, you can challenge any sword cultivator of the sect, but you need to obtain the other party's consent before you can fight. Lin Chu nodded slowly, a slight smile on her lips. Lu Ruyan, you should know. This lady is here for you. Now, I'm giving you this opportunity. You can challenge me. Of course, whether or not you have this courage is your own matter. However, I hope that if you refuse, then you will declare in front of everyone that Nine Swords Mountain is inferior to the Mountain and River sect. The rules of the Sword Inquiry Conference allowed outside sect disciples to challenge any disciple of Nine Swords Mountain, but Lin Chu's meaning was to make Lu Ruyan take the initiative to challenge her. It was clear that her arrogance was fully displayed. Usually, the challenger was the guest and not the host. Obviously, in Lin Chu's mind, the person who should issue the challenge was not her but Lu Ruyan. Even if Lu Ruyan won narrowly, the Mountain and River sect still had Lin Jia eyeing the situation. Without the appearance of Gu Qian, no one in the Nine Swords Mountain could match him. Sect Master Luo Yunxi of the Yihuan sect clenched his fist inexplicably and nodded, saying coldly, "If this continues, the Mountain and River sect will take this opportunity to announce to the entire Yunzhou that the number 1 sect in Yunzhou in the future will surely belong to the Mountain and River sect." The Mountain and River sect's request was not unreasonable. While the scene was noisy, Leng Yiqing, who had been silent all this time, finally spoke softly at this moment. However, since the Mountain and River sect wants to challenge in reverse as a guest, then it will not be limited to Ruyan alone. Changfeng, why don't you temporarily take on this battle for Nine Swords Mountain first? Under the gaze of countless eyes, you with deep blue eyes slowly opened your eyes, and then respectfully bowed to Leng Yiqing. Master, are there any restrictions? From the start of the Sword Inquiry Conference, you understood that this was unavoidable. The corners of Leng Yiqing's mouth curved up slightly, and with a wave of her hand, she handed you a jar of wine. No restrictions. In a battle between the strong, spiritual power skills have no eyes. Even casualties are unavoidable. As her voice fell, you hugged the wine jar and leaped down in front of countless shocked eyes. Your appearance instantly ignited the passion of countless forces present. The spectators even uncontrollably rose from their seats, their eyes filled with disbelief. Has Nine Swords Mountain given up? What's going on? They actually sent a Foundation establishment stage waste who can't even fly in the air. Even the 4 immortal emperors who had been calm all this time frowned slightly after seeing you appear. And they couldn't help but look at Leng Yiqing. Too arrogant. Before the noise could stop, Lin Chu interrupted the chaos on the field. She looked disdainfully at you, who had closed your eyes. This is a contest between sect geniuses. Has Nine Swords Mountain not woken up yet? Suddenly, you open your eyes sharply, and 2 beams of sword intent, like substantial objects, shot out from your pupils. If you want to fight, then fight. No need for useless words. Today, if the geniuses of the various sects want to challenge Nine Swords Mountain, I alone will take on the challenge. Lin Chu was directly intimidated by your gaze. Those deep pupils were like an abyss. The more she stared, the stronger the prickling sensation in her heart became. You didn't want to waste any more time talking. You stepped onto the arena, and with a bang, you opened the wine jar that Leng Yiqing had given you, and you began to drink heartily in front of everyone. Your bewildering actions stunned Lin Chu, and the audience was also filled with discussions. Since you are courting death yourself, then you can't blame others. A surging gray light surged from Lin Chu's left palm. The violent energy of the mountain-shattering palm instantly condensed above Lin Chu's head, forming a huge gray spiritual energy hand. It can be said that as long as the cultivator's cultivation level had not reached the nascent soul stage, their hearts would tremble when they felt the mountain-shattering palm in the air at this moment. All cultivators clearly knew that this was the full blow of a nascent soul realm cultivator. You would not be able to stop it. But just as many people closed their eyes, unable to bear to watch, something that made everyone's jaws drop happened. The pressure of sword intent unique to a Tribulation Transcension 7 level expert instantly spread throughout the arena. You were drunk.